والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحابه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم وقل ربي زدني علما. So continuing with the discussion of envy and jealousy, and the two are very close connected. And just a sort of a recap and then moving on. So envy or jealousy, it has various reasons for its presence and elements which create that kind of a situation. One is animosity, one is arrogance, another is conceit, and another is love of riyasa, to be the number one in whatever field, to be, the leader and the number one. And also khubth an-nafs, people just have very dirty hearts, basically. You have that kind of people. They're not actually, they don't gain, they don't lose anything, but they just have very impure hearts and minds. And avarice also, greed. And the most crucial and probably the most salient of all of these characteristics is animosity. And usually this happens because somebody, causes some affliction to another person, one way or the other, or a person has an objective and this person gets in the way, and so now there's an animosity, and so when that takes place, so he definitely doesn't want to see that person have anything good, and he would moreover like to see him afflicted. So taqwa to be exercised here, and as we mentioned, these are human traits. Humans tend to have these kind of tendencies. It's part of their instinct for survival, actually, but it has to be controlled. So if taqwa is applied here, so what will happen is that the person will not go according to what his nafs is pushing him towards. And so he wouldn't like for anyone else what he wouldn't like for himself, and he would always, see what he would like to have, and he would love for himself, a love for his brother what he would love for himself, and he would hate for his brother what he would hate for himself as well. So another sabab, or another element that brings on jealousy and envy, is kibber, arrogance. And usually what happens is that somebody has, in whatever field, it might be a career, or it might be in scholarship, it might be in academics, it might be in business, whatever, someone has a peer, and so they acquire knowledge, or they acquire wealth, or they acquire position, and so what happens is this person feels that this person is going to get the upper hand over me. So since I'm arrogant by nature, I want to have the upper hand over others. Now if somebody else gets this kind of favor, or this kind of position, or this kind of wealth and resources, he's going to have the upper hand over me. So this also creates a jealous situation. And this is the kind of jealousy that the kuffar had towards the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. Yeah, because Quraysh, they were in charge of everything, right? And so now all of a sudden, this individual comes and he's usurping all this from us. وَقَالُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. So why didn't this, just a sort of a blatant, baseless objection. So why not, why this orphan from, Bani Hashim? Why not someone great, like, Al-Walid ibn Mughira, or, someone from Taif, one of the big shots? Why this fellow? So actually it was basically arrogance which prompted them to say such basic or baseless things. Another, statement of the kuffar against the Rusuli. أَهَؤُلَاءِ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِم مِّن بَيْنِنَا. The people who were the idolaters and the polytheists, when they saw these downtrodden people following the prophets like Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam and others, they said, these despicable people and these low-class people have been favored and elevated over us? No way. So their arrogance actually prevented them from Iman. At the same time, they would like to see that snatched from them, and they want to have, position all to themselves. And then another classic reason for envy, and probably one of the most salient, is love of being the number one, fame and name and being the top, Nobody, and people who have this kind of, it's the type A personalities, we have to, me, I have to be in charge, I have to take control, right? And anybody else, gets control or gets position, it really, really hurts them, and they can't tolerate that. So, actually, this is what happened to the ulama of Yahud. Why did the ulama of Yahud, what was their problem with Rasul? Is that they understand. They knew him like they knew their own sons. In fact, Abdullah ibn Salam says, I know Prophet Muhammad is the one more than my son, because son, after all, there is a possibility he's somebody else's. But as for Muhammad there's no chance. So this is what they had, as we mentioned in Sirah. They were enjoying this position whenever there was a religious, question or anything that came up. So people would come to the Jewish community because they are supposed to be the authorities in religion. So now that's being usurped from them, their riyasat or their leadership, and that is being, taken as they perceive. And so that they couldn't tolerate that, regardless of the consequences. And that's the problem with these things. These diseases of the heart are such that actually we're going to see in the end, and when we finalize our discussion here, in the end, it blinds them to the outcomes. If we could see the outcome of this type of disease, it would, one would raise his hands from it, immediately. But it blinds the eyes and the ears and the mind and the heart. So the hearts become blinded, and then they don't see the outcomes, and then they carry on with this, which actually brings no detriment except to themselves. And some people, as we mentioned, they just have filthy insides. Khubth an-nafs. So they're not really, they're never going to be leaders, and they're never going to have anything, but they can't stand to see anybody have something, right? And they would love to see whatever they have being taken away from them, for no, betterment or harm to them. It's just, this rotten inside that they have. And then you have people, that they are stingy with what they have, and they're also, not only that, they're stingy with what other people have. I'm not going to give you, and you don't give him also. And so the jealous people are saying, like, oh Allah, don't give this fellow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can, and we're going to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give everyone everything. So what's the point? No point except for this disease of the hearts. Okay, so in any case, so sort of summarizing the whole thing, so all of these various elements can lead towards jealousy and envy. And basically what it is that people have this perception of competition in things, And therefore you find jealousy is always in something that somebody's competing with another person in. For example, a businessman is jealous of what? Another businessman. He's not jealous of the alim or the abid, or the sports star. He's jealous of that which he, thinks that he's in competition with. And therefore you find an academic, he's, jealous of another academic, even ulama whose hearts are not full of, proper taqwa and love of the akhirah. They also fall into this trap. Okay? And so what's the basis of all of this? The basis of the basis. The basis of the khulasatul khulasa is love of the world. Hubb ad-dunya. As they say, hubb ad-dunya rasu kulli khati'ah. So actually, if you analyze all of these situations, it's love of the world and the worldly, meaning before death, to achieve whatever one is to achieve before death. That's what the objective is. Now, on the other hand, the ulama of akhirah, the ulama who actually understand, they know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have knowledge, real knowledge of deen, and real knowledge of iman and imani a'mal, then they don't have any kind of problem with that, because they're not in competition with anyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's treasuries are unlimited. Whatever Allah has given to anyone, He can give the same to everyone. So nobody's competing for anything, right? Moreover, the people who have taqwa and the people who have iman, their objective is what? We said this jealousy is because there's a competition in some objective. If our objective is connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the na'im of Jannah, then what's the competition there? No competition. If somebody has ta'alluq with Allah, then everybody can have that ta'alluq. And it's not going to decrease from anybody else's. And whoever gets whatever they're going to get in paradise, it's not going to decrease from anybody else's share. Right? Now there's a very interesting point that the Musannif makes here. He says, there's a big difference, and therefore we generally find that jealousy and envy is intangibles, material, wealth, physical and tangible wealth. However, knowledge is quite distinct from wealth. And very interesting, he writes here, you see, that wealth, the peculiarity of wealth is that it cannot remain with the two. If I have wealth and I give it to someone else, it has to leave my possession and go into your possession before you possess it, right? So giving wealth to someone else means that I'm going to detach myself from it, and I no longer have control of it, and I don't benefit. Knowledge is not like that. Knowledge, we don't have to give it and release it to spread it. Moreover, we continue, and as a matter of fact, it increases one's knowledge. So knowledge is much more valuable, actually, than mal, because mal you will hand it off to someone else, and if not, it will be taken and stripped from us from the hereafter in any case. Better to send it ahead in the bank account of the akhirah. As for knowledge, it goes on increasing. The more we spend, the more we teach, and the more we promote knowledge, then we don't lose it. The more we gain it, and others gain as well. So there's no competition here. Now, so this jealousy, how do we get rid of it? As we said, this kind of part of the survival tendencies of human beings. Somebody has something, so as Darwin says, the survival of the fittest. So he has sort of stripped humankind from their humanity. Obviously, since he says they come from monkeys, so apparently he doesn't consider them really human in the first place. But so according to him, and those theorists, it's the survival of the fittest, and if you're the fittest, just take over like the lions and the gorillas, in the jungle. However, we're human beings. We're the sons and daughters of Adam, alayhi salam. And we are, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam, and Allah has given us a special karama. And so to control these animalistic, tendencies, which we are partly animal, no doubt. So, but we have to control this, not like the animals who just follow their impulses. We control the impulses. So we need knowledge and we need action to correct this situation. So, number one, we should understand we're going to have to use a little bit of intellect here. Now, if someone feels jealousy for someone else, so now number one, as we mentioned, it's as though we are unhappy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's division of resources in His kingdom. He's given him, He's given her, but He hasn't given me. That's Allah's choice. And whatever He's given to someone, He's given you also many things, maybe even more valuable, but you're not perceiving. In any case, so ar-radha bil-qadha, whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed, we need to be happy with that. And that gives us greatest happiness and greatest wealth of heart than whatever that person may be having in the first place. Anyway, at the same time, if someone becomes jealous or envious of what somebody else has, is it going to remove that thing from that person? No. As a matter of fact, it's not only going to not remove, it's not going to change the taqdeer of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not going to hurt him in this world, it's not going to hurt him in the hereafter. As a matter of fact, it's going to help him in this world and help him in the hereafter. So actually, the hasid, the one who is jealous, he's the one who's suffering. The one who's mahsood, he is not going to suffer. The jealous one, he suffers because he's always boiling inside. Why did he get that? Why does he have that? Why does he get this recognition? So the jealous one is constantly suffering, right? And he can't change the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any case. And in the hereafter, of course, he's not going to change, In the hereafter, not only that, he would have, because of his jealousy, particularly if he said something or he took some action, so that will all go into the account of the mahsud, the person who was being held, being looked at jealously. The other thing is that the person who is jealous, not only he boils in this world, but it's also the person who he's jealous of, the person who the person who he's jealous of, right? So when you see your enemy hurting himself, then actually the enemy gets happy with that. The enemy likes to see his enemy hurting himself. So he says, it's like a fellow taking a rock and he wants to hit his enemy and he doesn't hit the enemy, it bounces back and hits him in the eye. And then he says, okay, let me try again. He takes another rock and throws and it bounces off again and hits him in the other head. And he takes a third and ultimately it cracks his head open. So actually he's not hurting his enemy, he's hurting himself. So the enemy would actually take pleasure in that if he's perceiving that. And in the hereafter, the hasid is going to have to pay for his hasid, and the mahsud is going to get reward, for people who are showing that kind of, ill behavior towards him. So the jealous one is. So we have to think about that. Use our rationale. If we feel jealousy, then feel what's the consequence. What am I going to get out of it? I'm going to get disaster in this world and the next, and the person I'm jealous of, he's getting all the benefit. So why not be content with that? And moreover, in amal, so that's in knowledge, and in amal, do the opposite of what our nafs would tell us to do. Because if you're jealous, then you would try and detriment the person. You would try and bring out faults of that person or belittle him. So do the opposite. Praise him. You want to withhold him? Give him. You want to talk badly of him? Talk, nicely of him. Treat him nicely. So do the opposite of what the nafs. And as they say, one foot on the nafs, the next foot in paradise. Jihad al-akbar, jihad al-nafs. So actually fighting jealousy and all these other tendencies, it's about control of nafs. Using the intellect to understand the machinations of nafs, and shaitan is his buddy and his mentor, and the amal that is necessary to go against what the nafs is telling us to do. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to understand these lessons and apply them and save us from jealousy, in all of its forms. Ameen. Thumma ameen. Wa akhir da'wana. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum.